So, you see the stack? Well, I'm going to talk about my books that I've read so far. Is now a little over halfway through the year, and I've been seeing a lot of books I've read so far for the year. In this, there was like a bit of a hiatus because of school. I had to take a break, but I also read a bunch of books as well, but I saw that I read more books digitally. I'm just going to talk about it. And I also got a Kindle, which if you've seen one of my most recent vlogs, I'm going to be on my Kindle. Talk about getting the Kindle. But I wanted to go through my books, and I did actually DNF a book, and then I paused a book just because I'm not really like ready for that world, ready to get into it. I'm going to talk about all my books. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Nightbane. That is the second book in the Lightlark series. This book was the redemption. This book was the redemption, and I am so happy I read it, and I'm actually very excited for Skyshade. I believe that's the name of it. I pre-ordered it, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to see where this goes. It ended where my jaw was kind of like on the floor. I was like, oh my gosh, that did not just happen. This was definitely the redemption that I needed, and I'm happy about it. But again, she's a first-time author. And so there are some things that, you know, any first-time author is going to have to improve upon, but that's what I said about the first book too. But Nightbane, I definitely enjoyed it. It was not what I was expecting, and it was very pleasant to not expect that. Next was If Only I Had Told Her. This is the second book in this series. I think the first book was standalone, and then enough people wanted to see the other characters' perspectives, and the author as well felt like she wanted to share the other characters' perspectives, and so she wrote this. When I tell you I was a hater of If Only I Had Told Him, I was a hater. Reading this, I cried in the middle of a coffee shop, reading the perspective of Finn. Sobbed. Absolutely sobbed my eyes out. And most of the book is Finn's perspective, and then it is his friend Jack's perspective, and then at the very, very end, it's her perspective. I could have done without her perspective, but, you know, I feel like she was trying to wrap up the story. But when I tell you that reading this book from Jack's view brought a whole new light to the original story, I was emotionally distraught, to say the least. It was good. I actually enjoyed this way more than the first book. I was a lot more connected to the characters in this book. And then I talked about it in my January reads, and I'm talking about her again, Rebecca Serle. She just, for whatever reason, does it for me. There's just something about her and her writing that I just enjoy, and the length of her books. This is Expiration Dates. It's one of her newer books that has come out. I read In 5 Years by her, absolutely sobbed my eyes out, and so I picked up Expiration Dates. When I tell you I was so excited to read this book and was pleasantly surprised by this book, I was. It did not do the heart-wrenching, dramatic crocodile tears of In 5 Years, but it was still enjoyable, and I finished it in a day. So if you're looking for a good palate cleanser, something that you just need to pick up to get you back into reading, I felt like this was what did it for me. But again, you have to be a fan of Rebecca Serle, and I think you have to appreciate her writing, and if you're gonna start with her, I would recommend starting with In 5 Years. So then I got into this kick, and when I tell you a kick, I'm telling you a kick. Ana Huang held me by the throat for weeks. I read so many of her books, and I read so many of them digitally. And so the first book that I read was Twisted Love. You just have to be an Ana Huang fan to understand. Like, to me, I liked it. Some of my friends did not like it. They were like, this is too much. This is too cheesy. To me, it is one of those romance books that you pick up that you're like, I know what this is about to be, and I need this because I just want to read and enjoy and not have to think. And that was this book. That is this series. My favorite thing, and high praises for Ana Huang for doing this as a writer, is all of her series are interconnected some way, somehow, and I love that. I love it. So I read Twisted Love, and then I read her next book, which is Twisted Games. When I tell you a book boyfriend does not exist, Reese Larson exists. Oh, creme de la creme. Out of all the books, this is my favorite. Just like many other people, they love the Twisted Games. And then I read Twisted Hate, which was very interesting, and then Twisted Lies. If I was to buy any of the books out of her series, I would buy Twisted Game and Twisted Lies. There's something about Christian Harper in Twisted Lies that really got me, and I don't know if it was just because I have seen him throughout all of the other books, and then he got his own book, and it felt very much like redemption arc, but also like a big FU. So good. So good. Then the kick continued with Ana Huang's book when I read King of Wrath. I was not going to read these books. I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break from her, but I got sucked in because the main character in King of Wrath gets introduced to you in the other books, and you're like, oh, who's this dude? Like, does he have a book? Yes. The answer is yes. So I read King of Wrath. All of these books are very Ana Huang, and if you like Ana Huang, then you will like all of her books. If you don't like Ana Huang, skip them, because most of her books are relatively the same in the sense of formatting and writing style and the way that they're just like constructed. I read King of Wrath physically, and then I read King of Pride digitally. I wasn't as big of a fan of King of Pride as I was the other Ana Huang books, especially the Twisted series, but I still read it and I understood it, and there was, again, more ties into some of the other books. And then I went and picked up King of Greed. This book was like Ana Huang, but not like Ana Huang. It was very much, again, her writing style, the way that she constructs books, the way that she does things, but it also at the same time wasn't. And I think it was because she was writing such complex characters in very shallow ways. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but it makes sense to me, and I'm hoping it makes sense to you. But again, all of Ana Huang's books are very similar, so if you don't like her, don't read them. But I love that they all tied together, and they're just like a good palate cleanser. I read those, so I read the whole Twisted series, and I got almost all the way through the King of Sin series. Then I read this bad boy, Magnolia Parks. This is the UK cover, which I bought, and I'm very grateful that I bought this. I read Magnolia Parks. And I read this because of the influence of one of my friends. She said she loved it. She said that I had to read it, and I said, okay, I will read it. I read it and I enjoyed it, and I was curious and drawn in, but I just guess I didn't have as much emotional attachment to the characters as she did. Not saying that this is a bad book in any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was good, and I enjoyed it, and I'm going to read Daisy Hates. It's on my shelf. I'm going to read it. I'm ready for it. But this just wasn't what I thought. Now, she has told me that the rest of the books, which is Daisy Hates, she loves, and then Magnolia Parks, The Long Way Home is really good, and then Daisy Hates, The Great Undoing, and then Magnolia Parks, Into the Dark. So she's like, the rest of the books are really good, you just have to read this one. And so I read it. It was okay. I rated it 3.5 stars. Like, it was good. It was fine, but I guess it just wasn't what I was expecting, and I still enjoyed it. So if you are into the whole, like, high society, people have so much money, like, first world problems, but also, like, emotional issues and growth, read it. Read it. So then, for whatever unknown reason, I decided to rip my heart out of my chest and read the Binding series. These are very, very near and dear to me for the reason that it sent me back to living in Ireland. Like, it sent me back. The way that they talk, the names, the mannerisms, it sent me back. And it was something that I didn't know that I needed, but I did. And I read these, and I kid you not, I finished the first 2 books in 2 days. It was nuts. It was nuts. I've never read so much and consumed so many words in such a short period of time, and then remembered every single part of it. This just did something for me, and I still think about it. Johnny and Shannon, oh my god. Oh my god. But read the trigger warning. Read the trigger warnings. This deals with very, very hard stuff. It deals with things that might be difficult for some people, and this is definitely a mature book. You get Binding 13, which if you didn't know is a rugby term, and then you get Keeping 13, which is the second book. This was a good wrap up. The whole time I was reading Binding, I was sitting there like screaming, being like, just do something. It happened. Something happened. What I loved about these books and what I actually appreciate so much is that it's from both views. I love a dual perspective. I love multiple perspectives. I am such a I want to see the whole story person that both of these, having both views of the main characters, was the creme de la creme. Now, could I consume an entire book from Johnny's point of view? Yes. Should she write one from Johnny's point of view just 100%? 100% she should. So then you move on to Saving Six, which is about Joey and Aoife. This was good. I cried in this one, and I did not cry in Binding, but I still loved Binding and Keeping 13. But I cried in this one. And I think I cried because these books, I had read them consecutively, I had finished all of this, I had consumed this world and put myself in there, and I think I cried because I understood Joey in his emotions and in his feelings. And then I understood Aoife and her emotions and her feelings. And it was just something that is undescribable, and this gave me the sensation of, this is a book I wish I could read again. Like, this is a book I wish I could read again. This series, these first 3 books are books that I wish that I could read again for the first time. And I own Redeeming 6 and Taming 7. And Redeeming 6 is the second part of Joey and Aoife's story. And then Taming 7 is these people's story. I cannot think of their names right now. This series, it was just so good. It really was. Before I get into my DNF and my pause, I want to talk about the books I read on Kindle Unlimited. I got my Kindle, and when I tell you I have consumed more books in the month that I have owned it than I have probably in a while. I have. Truly and honestly. The first book that I read on Kindle Unlimited was The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. Read it. Read it. If you need a good world building, adult content, wanting to know what's going to happen book, read it. It was easy, it was quick, once you got past the first 10 chapters, just like most books, it was enjoyable, and I liked it. It made me excited for the next one. Is it my favorite book? Would I recommend this to every single person? No. If you're an avid reader, you should read this book. So then, and I'm so embarrassed to say this, but I really just wanted to see what all the hype was about, and I really wanted to know why these books were being printed and in Barnes & Noble and in Target, because it got me so curious. So I read Filthy Rich Vampire, and when I tell you, I zoomed through this book. I zoomed. If you were to take out the little bit of adult content in it, it still has a plot. And that is something that I think that makes a good palate cleanser book. If you take out the adult content, does it still have a plot? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Filthy Rich Vampires still had a plot. Is it exactly what the title says? Yes. Do you know what you're expecting when you read the synopsis and the title? Yes. But if you just need a quick read and you're prepared to put yourself into that world, freaking do it, because it was worth it. And when I tell you that I read that book and immediately hopped into the next book, I did. It was something else. It was something else, and I'm going to read the next one. And I was so consumed in this world, and I was thinking about this world, and I still think about this world. And again, it is exactly what the title says. It is exactly what you are expecting, and if you're expecting it and you're fine with it, read it. If that's not your cup of tea, don't judge me. Just read it. And then I went on TikTok and I was like, I need to stop. I want a good cry book. I want to, have my heart ripped out of my chest and stomped on, but not so much that it makes me reflect about myself. So I read Say You Swear. It was something else, It was something else, and I rated it 5 stars. The plot twist had me on the floor. The build up of certain characters had me grasping for more and just screaming and yelling. And then the end of the book took me by surprise in ways that I never thought I would. Was I a little confused? Yes. Did I eventually get there? Yes. If you just need your heart kind of ripped out of your chest and you need to feel something and you're okay with mature content, there is a trigger warning in the beginning of the book. Read it. Read Say You Swear. Read it. Because if you follow Destiny Sidwell on YouTube, she rated it 5 stars. If you follow Sarah Corelli on YouTube, she rated it 4 stars. My friend Natalie, she rated it 3 stars. Like, we all, for the most part, enjoyed this book, and I sobbed. My review of it literally says, if you want to get emotionally attached to the characters, you will sob. I sobbed. I am unwell but happy at the same time. So if you don't have an emotional attachment to them, you're not probably going to sob. It's still a good story. Again, if you were to cut out any of the adult content, would there still be a story? Yes. Not say you swear. And I just appreciate that book. It was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I am excited because there's another one coming out, and I'm like, who could be next? You know, who could be next? I'm not gonna leave this video on a bad note, so I'm gonna do my DNF first. Me and Natalie decided that we were gonna read a book a month together. Try to. Life kind of got crazy, and the 2 books that we have picked so far have kind of failed. The first book that we picked was Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I couldn't. I couldn't. I physically read half of this book and was so bored, to say the least. And then Natalie was like, you know what, listen to it. So I did. I listened to 95%. And you're gonna be like, Grace, why did you DNF it with 5% left? Because that was like 100 more pages. And I just couldn't. This just felt like an annotated bibliography of 2 people's lives. And there is supposed to be a subplot of romance where? I didn't see her. I didn't find her. I don't know what you're talking about. So this just wasn't for me. Now, maybe I just don't like this type of book. Maybe I am not really into this very specific genre. I know that Haley Pham absolutely loved this book. I think Natalie rated it 3 stars, and she's like, this book feels like one big pretentious miscommunication trope, which I agree with. Like, I totally agree with it. And it just felt like I was reading an annotated bibliography. If you're into that and you're into this genre of books, read it. Wasn't for me. Lastly is my book that I have put on pause. And I am a decent way through it. It's just, there's so much world building, there's so much that's going on that I needed to take a pause. So I'm 30% of the way through it, and that is Sweet Nightmare by Tracy Wolff. Now, I have read almost all of the Crave series by Tracy Wolff, and it's more enjoyable whenever you listen to it because there's so much detail and so much world building and so many characters that listening to it feels like a movie. Now, Sweet Nightmare is good, but I'm not sure what I'm expecting. I'm, again, 30% of the way through it. This is 150 pages, so I still have all of that to read. Am I going to finish it? Yes. Do I need to pause it right now? Yes, because I just simply don't have the time to read this and to really dive into this world, because this feels, like I had said in Lightlark, this feels like you need to sit down and you just need to sit and read. It's not one of those that you can pick up and put down and pick up and put down. You have to sit and just kind of read the book. I want to know what it's about. There was something that I saw, either a rating or a review, where it said that Five Nights at Freddy's meets vampires. I don't know. I'm going to read it. I will finish it, and I am excited to read it because there are characters from the Crave series that are mingling into this. And so again, I'm a big sucker for interconnected worlds. So I'm going to finish it. It's just right now I'm taking a pause because I am just not in the space to build worlds or multiple worlds. That is what I have read so far for the year. I did not include audiobooks in this because I just didn't feel like I just didn't feel like I needed to put them in. I really wanted to focus more on the physical books or digital books that I have read. But these are some of the books that I've read. If you want to read them, if you have any book suggestions, let me know. I'm excited to see where the rest of the year takes me. I have some books planned out. I'm currently reading a book for a video, and then in August I am going to do my piggyback read of House of Sky and Breath and House of Flame and Shadow. I'm gonna piggyback read them. It's gonna be a long road, but I'm going to do it, and I'm excited. So we have some things in the works and lots of books to read, but so far for the year, with all of the stuff that I have been doing, this is what I have read so far since January. Those January books and this and audiobooks and the digital books. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you again whenever I talk about books or on a vlog or somewhere else. So, bye!